Hey there, it's Katie Jarvis with Managing the Mess. I've been teaching elementary art for the last 22 years. I have both this YouTube account and an Instagram account where I share art teacher tips and tricks to help make your job easier and help you feel a little bit less alone in this crazy career. In this video, I'm going to answer questions that I've received over on Instagram. I put a little pop-up in my stories and got a lot of questions there. And I also put a question in my community tab here on YouTube. I'd love to make more videos like this in the future. So if you want to leave some questions for me down in the comments or reach out on Instagram, do not hesitate to ask. I got several questions about seating charts. I do use seating charts. I do make my own seating charts. I don't let the students choose where they sit on the first day. I already have my seating charts ready to go. I've been at my school for a few years, so I do know the students. When I was new here, I just kind of went boy, girl, and made a guess. I do write the seating charts in pencil, so if I need to, I can change and adjust things. And I try to make the seats so that everybody can see the board very easily and they don't have to turn around to see the board. Now, the reason that I do the seating charts is just for consistency so that students know exactly where to go so they can get started right away. There's not a issue about who's going to sit where type of thing. And it's not a distraction. The other reason that I do it is because of organization. I use name tag labels, so pre-printed mailing labels to organize my student artwork. I have a whole video about managing the artwork that you're going to want to check out, but it explains why I do this for students that are absent, so that I don't have no-name papers in my art room, so that I can put my artwork that comes off the drying rack in number order and then pass it out very quickly the next week. So I can put it in number order and grade it very quickly. For me, it is worth the time to do those labels and be organized, maybe be like uber organized with that artwork, because every time that my students are coming, they're making something, okay? So when you think about that, I'm seeing almost 600 students a week. Some of you are seeing even more than that. I have that many pieces of artwork left behind. So no-name things, not having something ready for somebody that's absent, it can really be a stressor. So I just try to be as organized as possible with those name tag labels. Now, that being said, with my seating chart, I have times when I'm more flexible with it. So my students don't really ask if they can move and get new seats because they do have opportunities when they can move around. One of those is at the end of each and every quarter, I have a Ketchup and Pickle day where students get to catch up and finish their work, and then pickles get to pick and choose what they want to do when they are done with their work. I have a video that kind of breaks that down and explains that as well. I'm going to link a lot of videos that I'm talking about in the description so you know what you can watch next for things that you are interested about. I do both printmaking and glazing projects as centers. So I have, when I'm glazing, certain colors on each table, like the red glaze is at the red table, the pink glaze is at the pink table, and my students are moving around with their projects. And it works in a similar way for my printmaking. So students on those days also have a chance to move around. Now, when I get to the very end of the school year, I've also got some leverage because my students never really get to sit with their friends all that often in art. So we set goals. So when we're doing our yarn weaving right now, we set a goal each week. I have a measurement form over on Teachers Pay Teachers. We set a goal each week and we measure their weavings to see how long those yarn weavings are getting. At a certain point, we set a goal and say, at this point, 3 days in, if your weaving is 5 or more inches, let's say, you get to sit wherever you want. You've shown that you understand weaving and that you're focused on getting it done, and you can choose. So it's something that I can use as a reward. It doesn't cost me anything when we get into later in the school year. Another common theme with questions was art shows, because I really haven't talked about that a lot on my channel because I don't do a whole school art show anymore. I have done them in the past. I have a district art show, but our district art show is by pyramids. I work in an enormous school district in the US, and we have a number of high schools. So our pyramid is all the elementary schools that will go to 2 particular middle schools that all feed into to one high school, and we display artwork together there. Myself and then our other art teacher would put on a really small display that's part of that show. So maybe 30 of my students would be featured in that. At my current school and then my former school that I was at before that, I did not do a whole school art show where everybody had artwork on display. I stopped doing it 3 schools ago, which was about 10 years ago, when my daughter was little. She was a toddler at the time. I think she was about 2 the last time that I had an art show. And I stopped doing the art show and the yearbook kind of at the same time and for the same reasons. It is a huge time investment. So instead of an art show, I constantly have student artwork on display. So at any time, if you come into my school, you're likely to find a piece of artwork from just about every kid. And I just kind of keep that up throughout the year versus having some big night in the spring where I have to work millions of extra hours to get it up. So what I had done in the past was I had themes. I don't know why, but from the initial one that I ever had at the school that I first started doing art shows at, they were enormous. I mean, I don't know. It's like go big or go home. I took it as a challenge. My very first one was a Hollywood theme. And we had a red carpet. I got the students excited about it. I started talking about it from day one of school. I had multiple pieces from each student. We had an enormous library that was just filled with 3D work, and then lining all of the halls, we had lots more artwork. Students, as they came in, walked down the red carpet, and I was sort of like a Joan Rivers-esque character, and I was interviewing the students as they came into the art show. We projected it live on screens throughout the school, so I think that there was also like a barbecue event or something in the cafeteria. There was a big screen there where people could watch, and inside classrooms there were TVs as well, so people were able to watch their friends coming into the art show as well as have their own chance to be interviewed. But it was one of those types of things where anybody who was anybody came, and I did not anticipate this, that I would completely lose my voice because I interviewed every kid in that entire school. At one point in time, someone took a picture for me because they were like, you need to hurry up. The line went almost all the way around the outside of our school of kids waiting to come in. They wouldn't come in without going down the red carpet. They wanted to make their grand entrance. So it was great, but it was huge. I definitely did not do a red carpet. The next year I did ocean themes. I did like a Renaissance theme. And I just kept getting bigger and crazier and better. And during that season of my life, that was fine. That was great. I really enjoyed it and got a lot out of doing that. However, it was a lot. So I decided when I moved to a different school to kind of eliminate that and take that away, and just to always be promoting the art and always having it up. If there's a concert or something, we always have artwork up in the building for students to see and for parents to enjoy when they are visiting. But I don't have an art show. Now, one of the big things that I started doing when I had the art show that has stuck with me is those name tag labels. So I am always labeling student artwork all throughout the year with pre-printed name tag labels. So my artwork is already ready for the district art show that I do. In the past, when I had those school shows, everything was already labeled and ready to go. And I think that was a huge time saver. Also, kids just cannot be trusted to write their names on things and have it look neat and be organized and be not losing things. So I was able to be much more in control of things by doing it that way. I got asked several variations of a question about time and managing time and planning. This school year, I've talked about this in other videos, I had the roughest schedule that I've ever had. Quite frequently in the schedule, I had 4 back-to-back classes, which is something I've never taken on before. So I learned a lot this year, but when I first looked at the schedule, I was really overwhelmed. Even if I'd kind of look at the layout of a week, I would get really overwhelmed this year. So I definitely focused on just keeping my head down, working really hard, which all art teachers do, and taking it day by day. I've shared in other videos about like time management, how I use Google Keep, which is a free app, syncs up to your watch, to your phone, to your computer, with my to-do list. And it's like it's like my brain. It's my personal to-do list and my work to-do list all together. And you can create reoccurring checklists. So you can like check things off as you go and then like uncheck them all at the same time. So, take things off the drying rack, pops back up every morning as something you need to do on your list. I try to stay as organized as I can. I think in this job, for me, there's been no other way to survive. Once I get in the weeds and I'm really behind on things and I don't know what I have to do, it becomes very overwhelming. I do stay late. Remember, I'm doing not only my regular teaching 24 classes a week. Some people asked about how much planning time I have. In my district, it's kind of protected that teachers have an hour of planning a day. Somehow they got very creative with my schedule this year though, and I didn't have a solid hour. One of my, sometimes it was broken up. I think 3 days a week it was broken up, and I had 30 minutes when we first got to school that they counted, and then 30 minutes with my lunch period that was counted in my planning time. So it wasn't even all together. That was something new and challenging for me this year. So to counteract that and to survive, I mostly have stayed after school. I don't get here all that early, just logistically doesn't work with my family's schedule. For me, I come in on Mondays and stay after school. Probably on Mondays I'm staying after school 2 hours. Remember, I'm not just doing my regular class load, but also I'm managing the mess. So there's some extra things that I'm doing above and beyond my job that happens when I am at school. So on Monday, I stay usually for 2 hours or so after school. I work out really hard on Sundays, so it's a good rest day for me at the gym. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, I do stay for an hour after school, just kind of cleaning things up and turning things over for the next day. I don't feel like I really get a lot done other than just the regular, get things, set out, put things away from that current day. And on Fridays, I tend to stay quite late. That's how I've found to survive. I'm not recommending that other people do that. I wish I could have a system where I wasn't working so many extra hours. I don't, in a sense, bring a lot of things home during the week. When I'm leaving school, I'm typically going to the gym, and then I'm going home and we're eating, showering, in bed. There's not a lot of time where I'm, sitting in lesson planning during the week. Even on the weekends, I tend to not really do a lot of schoolwork. What I do focus in on is prepping ahead. That's something that's really helped me a lot as, I've been teaching for more and more years. So I know that, when I do treasure maps in the fourth quarter, that I take tan paper and I have the edges already ripped. It's something that I will bring home over the summer, and then I'm sitting there watching Bachelor in Paradise or something, and I get that done. So I'm not doing that the night before that I need it. I'm just not that kind of a person. So I tend to prep a lot of things, especially in the summer, or as I do it, we finish the treasure maps, then I'll bring it home and do it then, or do it while my students are working on something else to get it ready for the next year. So I have boxes of prep in my closet ready to go. So things like my weaving looms, I put the yarn on the students' looms for them, and I will do that when we have a snow day. Kind of just a routine that I do of when I can get that stuff done so that it's ready ahead of time and I can just pull it back out. For me, the only way to survive has really been to focus in on organization, and sadly for me, just being an art teacher means working a little bit more hours than the other people on your staff. Get to know your custodians, and usually you're sometimes the last car in the parking lot. I did get a wonderful question about someone who was not themselves an art teacher, but wanted to know how they could support art teachers beyond just collecting egg cartons and yogurt cups and sending in recycled materials, knowing that in many districts, budgets are issues and having enough supplies and materials are an issue. I really think that's going to vary from place to place. I am very fortunate that we probably have more art supplies than most, just based upon the socioeconomic status of our district and the size of our district as well. And I work at a Title I school, so we have additional funding that way. Things that parents help me out with that are not recycled things are baby wipes. I think even if teachers like me have sinks, they would really appreciate that. Teachers that don't have sinks would definitely appreciate baby wipes to help clean up, so they have some wiggle room to do some of those messier projects. I know for me, it's really helpful to have real paper towels. I have a wish list actually over on Teachers Pay Teachers, and it's editable that I send out to families at the beginning of the year. And it has both recycled items, so things that are free and accessible for anybody to be able to help out with, but also some of these items that I'm mentioning now, like the baby wipes and the real paper towels. If something spills at school in our art rooms, the school paper towels just are not cutting it. And my families have been very generous going to Costco, going to Amazon, and getting us lots of paper towels. And that has been really appreciated. But again, we already have the paint and things like that. If schools don't have those items, that's where you'd want to start. So you really do need to talk to the art teacher and ask what they would like. I'm trying to think. Another thing that was kind of big for me this year, I really discovered, was the plastic tablecloths that come in rolls. And I had a lot of parents donate those. It was a lifesaver to me. I was covering tables with paper quite frequently when we were doing messy projects so that I could just roll it up and throw it out and have a clean service for the next class that was coming in 1 second. But this year with my back-to-back classes, I would cover the tables with paper and then put plastic tablecloth on top of that. So I had 2 layers of mess that I could use and roll up and remove. So parents really helped me with that. That's not something that was on, I guess we had ordered a few with school funds, but we didn't get nearly as many of those rolls as we would have needed. And it really helped just for our program to run. But that's going to vary from school to school. Again, I'm pretty fortunate. So the things that I'm asking for are kind of extra things that make it nice for me as an art teacher and, with my biggest issue, which would be back-to-back classes. I received a really detailed, kind of complicated question about absences. In this particular case, it sounded like for religious reasons, students were missing a lot of school. So there were many times, maybe 10 times out of 30 classes, that a kind of high number of students were absent. I have a video all about how I manage absences. Excessive absences are a very big issue at the school that I'm currently at. So there's a couple things that I do to help manage that and stay organized. The main thing being those name tag labels. So whenever somebody is absent, I save whatever we're working on for them, just marking it with their name tag label, putting an A on it so that I know that they are absent. I do work in what I call Ketchup and Pickle days. So days when students can catch up on their work at the end of the quarter. And when their work is done, they can pick and choose what they want to do. So if you have a situation where students are all kind of in different spots and projects, or they have many unfinished things, that might be something you want to do even more often than I do. I have a full video about what I do with Ketchup and Pickle Day, but I do that 4 times a year. In this particular question, they were really focused on whole class rewards and how that would work. I don't really do any whole class incentives. When I do my Ketchup and Pickle Day, my classes earn that no matter what. I found that it didn't really make that much difference with their behavior if I had those little incentives in place. So for the person that was asking the question, might be something you just try to just sort of eliminate that. I have a gold and silver paintbrush, which is sort of like a feedback system that I give to the classroom teachers so that they know how the class did for that day, and the students are acknowledging that I noticed that they are doing a good job. But those gold and silver paintbrushes don't equate to anything. I have a full video about my behavior management system, but they're not working towards having a party or working towards getting to make slime. No matter what happens throughout the quarter, they get the Ketchup and Pickle Day. So for me, I don't have any whole class incentives, so I didn't really relate very much to the question they were asking. I hope some things in there might be helpful for things that you could try if it's a similar situation that you are in. The next question I got came from someone that is not an art teacher, but somebody that is trying to support art and help to get art into school. So they're in charge of a smaller program where they're getting art prints into the hands of the classroom teachers, it sounded like, and they're hoping to provide lessons for them. So they were asking, like, what makes a good art lesson? This is definitely something that I'd like to make into a larger video, but just a quick overview. You need to avoid doing a craft. What we do in our art class is not just copying the master's work or making something that looks cute where they all end up looking the same. The goal of art is to have the students be able to think and plan and like sketch out different ideas, to use critical and creative thinking to come up with a solution to an art challenge. So they should be planning things out, and they should be able to show their own uniqueness and their own creativity within the project that you're designing. I focus a lot on vocabulary because I do teach a lot of students where they are multi-language learners. So we talk about the different tools and the different techniques. So they're learning about different ways that they can paint, not just, oh, we're painting, this is how you hold a paintbrush. But they're getting down into, you can do dabbing with a paintbrush and you can do over painting. And they're trying those things out. On my Teachers Pay Teachers, I have different technique charts where they will like practice painting techniques. And when they're given a painting challenge, they use that as a menu to select and choose which techniques they would like to use on their own painting. Also within those good art lessons, I really like to promote the elements and principles of art and having students be really comfortable and familiar with those, because those are words that you use when you're talking about art. That's how they make the connections to the artwork. I sure hope this video was helpful for you. I'd love to do videos like this in the future and answer any questions that you have. Definitely leave a comment down below with questions or reach out to me over on Instagram, and I'll see you in my next video.